Did you know that there was a woman pharaoh in ancient Egypt? Hatshepsut was the first recorded female pharaoh in ancient Egyptian history. I'm Dr. Megan Lorraine Debin, and I'm an art historian, and this is Art Trippin Lecture Series. Hi, I'm Dr. Megan Lorraine Debin, and this is Art Trippin. So, how did she come to power? She was one of the wives of the pharaoh, and when the pharaoh passed away, the heir, who was a son of the pharaoh, but not even Hatshepsut's, it was a son of another wife of the pharaoh, he was too young to become the pharaoh. And so instead of Hatshepsut sort of serving as an advisor to this young, I don't know, he must have been like 10 years old, she just took the pharaohship. She took the throne. Before Hatshepsut, there have been women rulers, but they were sort of like queen regents. They weren't technically ruling. There was still this kind of male heir who had become the pharaoh. But in this case, Hatshepsut assumed the role of pharaoh and sent away this young boy off to military training far away from the capital. And he grew up like 10 years off at like sort of military camp, and he was a very successful soldier. All the while, Hatshepsut was ruling. One thing that's really interesting about this woman pharaoh, Hatshepsut, is that she took on the appearance of the pharaohs. This involved wearing a false beard, the pharaonic beard, which you will see all of the pharaohs wearing. She wore this pharaonic beard. She also stained her skin darker. In general, women were more pale skin as they were expected to spend more time indoors, whereas the men who were spending more time outdoors had darker brown skin. Hatshepsut dyed her skin, and in fact, some scholars think that whatever she was using to dye her skin was actually poisoning her and might have contributed to her death. She dressed up with darker skin and the pharaonic beard and had herself depicted in sculptures as a male pharaohs were depicted, in that same frozen, stiff pose with that far-off gaze, the gaze of eternity. And here we're looking at one of these sculptures. This is Hatshepsut with offering jars. This is from the upper court of her mortuary temple, which is located today right on the other side of the hill of the Valley of the Kings. She did not have her mortuary temple built in the Valley of the Queens, which was across the Nile River. She had hers built on the same rock, the same mountain, just the other side from the Valley of the Kings, which is this amazing place to visit. If you ever make it to Egypt, you must go to the Valley of the Kings, where you can enter into the tombs and see where these pharaohs' treasures were buried. When you look at her mortuary temple, it's definitely a different design compared to the other temples of the rulers of ancient Egypt. You see these kind of stepped areas, almost reminds me of a Mesopotamian ziggurat. And when you go into this temple today, you will see that there are images of Hatshepsut that have been destroyed, and they were not destroyed in modern times. They were destroyed in ancient times. So the story goes that when she took power, she was a very powerful ruler. This was a period of sustained peace and diplomacy where Egypt reigned pretty peacefully. During her rulership, Egypt endured a period of sustained peace, really, and she ruled not through military might, but through diplomacy. After her death, the natural heir, who was not her son, but a son of her former husband, once he was old enough and he assumed power after she passed, she was erased from history. There's some debate about who did this and why. I've seen people say that this stepson came back and took back power and tried to erase her memory from history. But I don't think this is the case. I think it's more reasonable to think that, I mean, he was 10 years old at the time. I think that when he came back and assumed the throne after she passed, the advisors around him, the people, the nobility of ancient Egypt, did not want women to get any ideas and think that they could take over and rule. So that they erased her face. They literally, at the temple, you can see, scratched her face off of sculptures, erased her face and her name from the monument in an attempt to cancel and write out her history. But luckily, contemporary art historians are keeping her legacy alive. Do you know of any other powerful women in ancient Egypt? Let me know in the comments. And if you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more Art Trippin, the lecture series. I'm Dr. Megan Lorraine Debin, signing off.